All right. Stop Killing Games update. I'm pretty excited for this.
On the Stop Killing Games campaign. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's recently crossed the 1 million signature mark.
Congratulations.
Though I'm assuming nothing.
That's a big.
In fact, I've been given stats that there was a previous initiative that had 250,000 of its signatures invalidated. And I could see us setting a new record there. So keep signing. That's the first thing. Second, for anyone who doubts how powerful this initiative can be, we now have a lobbying group issuing a statement about us. Do you think if we had no chance of changing things, we would have lobbyists coming out against us? Well, a big one is Video Games Europe. Best I can
never heard of
tell,
them,
this
but
is
okay.
essentially the voice of the industry. So of course they're going to be against any proposal we make, because they're ideologically opposed to us being able to retain our games. I really can't emphasize that enough. Even if every developer in the world was for our proposal, the industry would still be against it. Because it's not developers who make most of the big decisions. It's shareholders and companies worth billions. So with that in mind, let's go through this statement quick by our opposition here. We appreciate the passion of our community. However, the decision to discontinue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is no longer commercially viable. Well, I have great news for you, Video Games Europe. We are in no way seeking to impede your right to discontinue online services. We are saying you can shut down your games whenever you want. But you have to do that responsibly, in a way that doesn't take back rights you already sold to customers. Yeah, some people forget that companies have to sell you some rights to begin with to even play the games. We understand that it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws. Okay, well first off, I'm not a lawyer, but this guy at WBS Legal is, and he thinks Ubisoft probably broke the law when it shut down the crew, giving players only 3 months notice, when they should have given more like 2 years. Yeah, you know, Ubisoft, one of your members. So this is
one of your
probably a
members.
false statement out the gate. But you know what? That's not even...
Is it a big surprise that a lobbying group trying to make billions is falsifying and lying for information to make them make more money? A company? Can you believe it? That's wild.
even our issue. So I don't even care how much notice you're giving to players. What I care about is that you're not depriving them of their purchase. Private servers are not always a viable alternative option for players, as the protections we put in place to secure players' data, remove illegal content, and combat unsafe community content would not exist and would leave rights holders liable.
Then don't put those protections, and the rights aren't yours anymore once you shut it down.
Okay, several things here. We have to break it down. Private servers are not always a viable alternative option. So they're saying for a new game concept, which hasn't even been made yet, sometimes there is no way they can add an end-of-life plan to the design?
Impossible.
Their programmers' fingers simply can't type that? I would love to see them say this to a room full of developers. I think the industry would be surprised how viable it was if the law said you can't take back the limited license rights you already sold to the customer. And this next part. Yes, this part is true. Players will absolutely be getting a rougher and more wild experience playing an unsupported game. I happen to know a thing.
Yeah. And some people actually agree and would rather want it. Let's say Marvel Rivals went down, and there's private servers for them. Okay. Well, then all the Chinese propaganda and what you can and can't say in the chat about him being Winnie the Pooh, well, suddenly you can. Oh man, that would be great.
Thing or two about that. So yes, that's the nature of anything unsupported. That's not a good excuse to destroy what people paid for. It just means they're on their own. But then they say this part. It would leave rights holders liable.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay, I am not a lawyer, but my
forfeiting.
first impression is this strikes me as very not true. The way I read this, they're saying they are incapable of writing an end-user license agreement that absolves them of all liability on shutdown. Like planning for end of life, apparently it's just not possible. So me, as a layman, I'm wondering what's the problem with adding a line like this to the EULA? Once our company ends support, we are not responsible for any and all issues that arise from users continuing to operate the game in a discontinued and unsupported state, and absolve ourselves from any and all liability pertaining to its continued use.
Perfect.
There's probably a better
Sounds
way
great.
to say that, but you get the idea. They seem to be saying a line like that is just impossible to write. See, I'm puzzled by this because as a consumer, I've seen all kinds of things have support end, but I still get to keep them? I'm just on my own. That's a very common thing. I think we need a lawyer to weigh in on this.
Okay.
So if we take them at their word, it sounds like they're concerned about protecting customers. Okay, but their solution is customers must have their purchase taken away from them forever. We have to destroy our customers' games to protect them from themselves. I normally don't like to use this
I
phrase
didn't think
because
about
it's
it that
thrown
way, but
around
yeah,
too much.
He's right.
But this is beyond nanny state. This is more like Terminator state. Take a game like Star Siege Tribes. For all purposes, that's a game intended to run online with other people, or over a network at the very least. It was discontinued in 2004, but you can still run it today, online. This lobbying group seems to be saying that's a liability. No one should have been permitted to run this game after 2004, and it's a mistake that this game is still allowed to exist because of the risk to consumers. We would have destroyed every
That's
last copy
ridiculous.
of it back in 2004 if we could have. We couldn't then, but we can now. So that's our business model with new games. See, I take that as extremely hostile to both customers and
Well, the reason these lobby groups want to do this is because they don't want you to play old games. They want you to constantly buy new ones and new services and new items in the next game. And they don't get anything from you playing the old one that you already like. Obviously, that's the answer. It's all have to do with money. There's no other reason around it. And with that being said, I agree they have no rights to do that because you purchased the product, or if it was a free product, you purchased products in the product, such as in-app purchases. That's why, like, I don't think Smite 1's going down when Smite 2, but let's say Smite 1 went down when Smite 2 came up. They want everyone to go to Smite 2. Well, guess what, bucko? None of my services and items I bought and microtransactions can move to Smite 2. That means I want to keep Smite 1 open. Now give me the server rights. We're going to make a private server. We're going to continue playing that because I purchased something on that. You don't have to do anything, but you got to give me the server rights because it is a product or a series of products I purchased on a server that I own.
Reservation. So my question is, why can't we allow customers to continue playing the game, but adding a splash screen saying something like, "Warning, this game is no longer supported. Running it could represent a risk to your security. We assume no liability for what may happen as a result." That strikes me as a reasonable compromise. In addition, many titles are designed from the ground up to be online only. In effect, these proposals would curtail developer choice by making these video games prohibitively expensive to create. Okay, this part is a little more complicated because every game is different, but when I see this, I'm thinking of auto manufacturers saying how they can't afford to make cars if they're required to include seatbelts in them, because no one ever made that argument back in the 60s. However, I think there is a big piece being left out of the discussion here. A whole lot of the complexity and cost of making an online game comes from all the microservices involved. And guess what? We don't need the vast majority of them for an end-of-life build. I talked to a developer and he gave me a big list of examples we don't need. Payment processing, anti-cheat, analytics, voice chat. There's so much here that's not necessary to just run the damn game. In fact, I have a quote from him. "We are not asking for 98% of the game. We're asking for the 2% of game logic for main gameplay functionality." Except even that's not true. We're not asking for that directly. We're asking for the same rights we already bought for the game, which they can probably fulfill by providing that 2%, as he puts it. So let's cut out all this extra crap before we start talking about how cost prohibitive an end-of-life build is. Now, that does mean designing games so it's easier to turn off all these microservices is a very good idea.
And that's where the cost would come in. And the second thing is that I don't know if he's going to bring up, but what I'm going to say is it's not that much more. Basically peanuts. The issue we'll have is in the industry, they'll want to put it out quickly as possible, timeline and whatsoever. But they also would want that stuff included, and that's going to cost more. But it's not going to be that much more. It really isn't. But it is going to hurt them a little bit. Just a little bit. A little bit for the better, probably.
And that also means it may not be practical for some existing games. Good thing for the industry, the initiative is not retroactive. And most publishers already have a local test environment for a game, which I'm told is bad practice not to. That's half the battle right there. So this statement? No, this one is meme level. I do not believe the industry when they say this is so expensive it's not possible. Especially when it's been done many times before. This is seatbelts all over again. And how about getting input from big European developers not on this list, like CD Projekt or Larian? We welcome the opportunity to discuss our position with policymakers. Yeah, I bet you do. And those who have led the European Citizens Initiative in the coming months. Well, they'll probably be glad to know that's actually not me. I am not the official spokesperson for the initiative. I'm ineligible. I'm more of a super promoter. The reason I'm making this video is I want to inoculate people against these bad faith arguments. Remember, everything they're saying here is their excuse for taking away your purchase with no time frame given and destroying it forever. Is this a good enough excuse for you? It isn't for me, especially when they're lying. I think that's worth taking into consideration. And on that note, they also released a longer statement. But do I really need to go over this? Why providing continued support do not work for all games? Oh, we're back to the classics. Okay, so they don't even understand what we're asking for. You know what? I'm gonna let them figure it out. I've played that song enough already. If I have to explain that a 500th time, I want it to at least be to someone who's not being paid to undermine us. Now, they're going to be lobbying politicians with this, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you got a
but
fair
we can
point
try
there.
and do our part, too. If you're super motivated on this and are part of the EU, you can contact a member of European Parliament and tell them about the initiative. I've been told you should target ones in the Internal Market and Consumer Protection Committee. There's a link in the description below. Just pick one for your country, and I'm just relaying this next part. I have no idea myself, but I've been told you should maybe avoid PFE and ESN, as they're not known for doing things, is how it was explained to me. And the last bit of advice is a lot of email to them gets buried. So if you want something that stands out, this title was suggested to me. 1 million plus sign European Citizens Initiative. Stop destroying video games. Help us protect gamers' consumer rights. And that's all I have on Video Games Europe lobbying against us. For now, I guess. A quick update to the last video. I didn't mean to scare the hell out of everyone signing. If you made an honest mistake filling out the initiative, it won't count, but don't worry. I don't think you'll be in any trouble with the law. Just don't spoof fake signatures. That's the part that's a big deal. Also, don't sign if you're not voting age. I've said this before, but it's been a while. There's always 50 things to cover. Finally, if you have made a mistake, you might be able to get it corrected. Get in touch with the official spokesperson, Daniel. His info is on the initiative page. Alright, that's it. Keep signing to make sure this happens.
Yeah, very good video. I fully support this. I do. Everything about it is just something that would be incredible for the industry. As much as I play video games, this is something that should change because for the people that watch me on Rumble, this is, as he said, a nanny state. This is the government taking your rights away, or companies trying to take your rights away, and you need to tell the government that they can't do it. a lot of people don't understand video games, okay? A lot of people see them as evil. A lot of people see them as, oh, they're going to shoot your guns. It's the way forward. Your kids, if are going to love you if you help them for this. There's plenty of people that video games help relieve stress, everything else. This is a very big deal. And something you buy as a generalization of the whole process, something you buy should never be taken from you. No company should be able to take it from you. And that's why I was so pissed when Nintendo was able to brick your system. You bought a Switch 2. I don't know who knows this. It's a little off topic, but not really. Buy a Switch 2. They can make it not go online, but they can also brick it so it's unusable. And you purchased that item. This is the same thing for just video games in general. I think we need more rights to this. I think there's more things with video games we can do. I think physical media should have physical products on it. I don't think these Game Geek cards. In fact, I here in the States want to start another initiative for a whole bunch of other things such as microtransaction, gacha games, physical media, being able to take console products away from you. I actually wrote a bill, like a paper, and sent it in to my representatives and Senate member and all that, governor, everything. I sent it everywhere, and nothing happened. And I really want to make a big deal about it online because I think it's incredibly important, especially people around my age. We play so many video games and we don't realize what we're losing. And if companies get so much control of our industry, we'll lose it forever. So this is a very important thing. Thank you all for watching.